Good morning, LL Nation. What it do? This is the Lucky Lefty Podcast. I am your guy, SD2 Mike Shaun Davis, the original Lucky Lefty himself. Bam, that dude over there. Malik Zaire. We are brought to you and featuring Onora Whisky. Go to OnoraWhisky.com for that premium American whiskey. Only at OnoraWhisky.com. Today, we have special guest Mike Golic Jr. is going to be joining us around 10 a.m. Talking Notre Dame. He was right at the beginning of the rise of Notre Dame. So played in a championship game. So we'll talk about that in 2012. Talk about his thoughts. And we'll ask him which cookie would he rather dunk in mayonnaise. You know, you saw him during the Mayo Bowl. He dunked an Oreo in mayonnaise. So we're going to ask him, which cookie would you rather dunk in mayonnaise? Chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin? We're going to ask him.
We'll get to the it's a question that the fans want to know. The nation wants to know.
The nation wants to know. We're going to talk about All-American Bowl standouts coming to Notre Dame. Big week in practices down there. A couple of guys standing out that are coming to Notre Dame. Then we have some breaking news. And Malik, we're going to start the show with something we talked about yesterday. It might have had some confusion because we both were shocked by it. I know you didn't know until I mentioned it on the show. And then when I mentioned it, we kind of went into what we do. You know, we are spontaneous and we have fun with things. Some people took it the wrong way, like we were saying that Marcus Freeman got rid of someone that was on the staff at Notre Dame. But I want you to go ahead and clarify that, clear that up, and then let people know something we have coming down the pipe in the future.
So, yeah, sorry I got mistaken, but we definitely didn't say that he was let go as if, you know, he's clearing house. He was actually asked to stay. We're talking about Aaron Kearney, the director of recruiting. He was asked to stay, but he chose to leave. You know, he wanted to spend more time with his family, which is, you know, like I was telling him, it's hard to be able to make a mature decision like that because obviously you're thinking about making money and keeping people afloat with your job and stuff. So for him to be able to walk away from such a hard ask, because, you know, right now I feel like we're trending upwards in that department specifically. And, you know, that group is going to be very busy. So I already understand, you know, what he chose to walk away from. But also, he's also going to be able to come on the show tomorrow and we can talk more into how in-depth recruiting actually gets and probably why he walked away. I mean, I know it's probably hectic day in and day out because recruiting has turned into a 24-hour thing.
So there you have it. Former director of recruiting for Notre Dame, Aaron Kearney, will be here on the Lucky Lefty Podcast tomorrow to give you an inside peek to what it takes from start to finish to recruit a young man to want to be at the University of Notre Dame as a football player. So that's what we do. We spend it different. We give you great content. We're going to continue to give you great content. Mike Golic Jr. later on today. Former director of recruiting Aaron Kearney tomorrow. And then we got some big things we're working on that we hope come to fruition because it will be absolutely amazing for you fans to be able to hear from these particular individuals. So let's start off with the must-haves. The must-haves for the 2022 offseason.
Let's go.
What are you thinking when I say, man, this is a must-have? I think you have a top 4 list, don't you?
I have a top 4. I have a top 4 wish list. It's more of a wish list because, you know, we have no connection to what their Notre Dame recruiting office is actually doing. Mm-hmm. And even if we could know, I wouldn't want to because predicting is way more fun. And so this is what my wish list would be if things were to be able to work out. One of those is the Mario Loot Runner. I think that's a dynamic athlete. We've seen him at Oklahoma go crazy. And I think he's kind of wanting to take more the route of what Caleb Williams is taking and just testing the free agency waters. You saw how Caleb also said he was thinking about going back home to Oklahoma. It's still open to even come back. So I think they're on the same mission with that. But I would love to give him a call. You're talking about a guy that could be a boost in that slot position, which we know we got some experience with Avery Davis, but to have a bona fide guy that can do a little bit more than what a Chris Tyree can from the past, I think it can also focus Chris Tyree more on special teams so he can play punt return. But overall, I think that's a dynamic guy. You're talking about changing the culture of the receiver room from a urban stance. You know, he got 100,000 something followers. You know, wear all the fly receiver swag off the field, something that could boost the receiver room from a perspective. You know, a lot of what we think of the receiver room right now is future class presidents like Corey Robinson. And, you know, I mean, that's an attractive to some people, but, you know, we'll see what happens.
I'm going to put it to you like this. And I tweeted this out yesterday. That Uber, luxury Uber, should have been headed to Evanston yesterday at like 9 a.m.
That's right, because he was on my list too.
Like, immediately, come on down. Like, your name is up on the Price is Right for transfer portals coming to Notre Dame. Brandon Joseph. Houston Griffith comes back. So, and I'm not mad at him coming back.
No.
It's an immediate addition that settles the position, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to rock with him in Houston as a duo, you'll have a veteran duo. You have a playmaker and Brandon, and then your youngsters can give you your depth. If that's how you want to rock it. I feel much more comfortable going into the horseshoe game 1 with those 4 on the back end than, you know, where we stand currently. And then,
because right now, I mean, that's what the back end needs is experience, speed, and a little bit of size.
Yes.
And this kid is, I mean, Brandon Joseph's what, 6'1", 200?
Man, fantastic. Safety, can play the slot. I don't know if you saw the Big Ten championship game, the interception he had one hand.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Yeah.
And when you talk about discipline and a fit, he can't be much of a bigger fit. I mean, he's coming from a disciplined Ivy League type of program like Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
So that Notre Dame fit is identical, along with Ben Skoranek, and then along with the fact that he's physical enough and dynamic enough for a position that in a defense that's going to be really good, his transfer portal makes sense on both sides, on both sides.
And I actually reached out to a good friend of mine, Ted Albrecht, former NFL player, Chicago Bears. He is the color analyst on the radio side for Northwestern football and WGN radio. This is what he had to say about Brandon Joseph. He's very savvy, high football and everyday IQ. He anticipates very well, always in the right place at the right time. He was a third leading tackler, well respected as he was a captain. Big loss for the secondary, for the defense and the entire team. He has a wonderful attitude, great locker room guy, and a big-time leader who will be sorely missed. Oh, by the way, he's a hard worker, too. I'll take him.
Especially over when we lose a guy like Shane Simon.
Yeah.
You bring a guy in that may not be as tall, but has got the same type of build, and you don't really miss that part in the recruiting. When you go into that room, you still be like, okay, we got some talent.
Now, let me go into this, bro, right? I know you mentioned, the wide receiver from Oklahoma. I'm hearing a lot of buzz and I'm digging because he's a local kid. And the reason I think there was a piece in The Athletic that broke yesterday afternoon. Talks about Jim Harbaugh returning to the NFL, and it's a strong possibility. So when you see all of these players at Michigan entering the transfer portal, you start to say, man, because it really didn't make sense. Like, man, you just left the college football playoff. You have a 5-star local kid, J.J. McCarthy. Not local to Michigan, but I mean local to the Chicagoland area. From IMG, 5-star quarterback coming back next year. Young talent at wide receiver. Why is A.J. Henning thinking about transferring? Why did a linebacker and a defensive back immediately jump into the transfer portal? I think this thing with Jim Harbaugh is real. I think
what they say, possibly the Raiders.
Possibly the Raiders. He has a long-standing relationship with the Davises. Long-standing.
Interesting.
And the Raiders need, after the debacle of John Gruden.
They just need stability.
Well, new stadium in Vegas. You have to swing big if you're Mark Davis. You have to. You can't go get some coordinator and give him, opportunity as a first-time guy. That's not the Raider way.
It's not.
It's not the Raider way. And I think the Jim Harbaugh news is real. And I think it's going to be a lot of defections from that roster if and when it becomes official next Monday morning, which is Black Monday, which is important because Black Monday normally would have been 2 days ago. And we really would have had movement. But the NFL added the extra game this year.
Yep.
So now it's an extra week, which makes the greatest weekend of football ever null and void, which would be this weekend. This weekend will be wild card weekend going into the national championship game.
On Monday.
That's the way it's been. Now it's just football games that are meaningless going into the national championship game. So very interesting. When that report broke in The Athletic, the severity of it, I know the Bears have had interest. I don't know how serious it is, but they've had interest in him before. I've said this. Ryan Day's name has been connected to the Bears for at least 2 months now. For at least 2 months. And he may stay at Ohio State. All I'm saying is, come Monday, the smoke is going to start coming up.
That's right.
From a lot of places. And if you think the transfer portal was hot this week or is going to continue to stay hot, next week, once the big dogs are done, and the coaches really start moving around, then you'll really see what's going on with the transfer portal. So, another position for me. Go ahead.
Yeah, building on that, I mean, I think something that nobody's really talking about much is Brendan Rice, the receiver out of Colorado. I know we talked a lot about how Marvin Harrison's son, Marvin Jr., is at Ohio State and how well he looks. Well, another kid that has a son in the college football, Jerry Rice's son from Colorado, actually has a lot of talent. And with his size and I already know he has the work ethic. I don't know how he started at Colorado, but I think Notre Dame will be not only a great fit, but from a recruiting standpoint, and anytime you get Jerry Rice around the campus, something's got to change in that side of it as well.
You're right. We just had Shaun Miller, cornerback 4-star from Auburn, jump into the portal this morning. You talked about Mario Williams, the wide receiver from Oklahoma, who was absolutely fantastic. He had a big time. Well, he had 1 touchdown in the Alamo Bowl. Would have had 2. He broke the tackle and the DB snapped his helmet off. And the rule is once your helmet comes off,
automatically
dead. So he would have had 2 touchdowns in the Alamo Bowl. So he's gone. And the thing with this is it's not so much sometimes in the transfer portal, it is about the schools that originally recruited you and the relationships you had.
Yeah.
That can mean something. And then sometimes that doesn't mean anything. And kids are looking for, like you said, I'm not going to Oklahoma to then go to a school with a platform that's less than. Like if I'm coming to Oklahoma, I'm looking to go to a Notre Dame. I'm looking to go to an Alabama and a big platform.
And I was able to at least experience both of those situations, being close to Paul Chris. During my recruitment through high school, I was thinking of going to Wisconsin or wherever he was at. He ended up going to Pitt the year I committed to Notre Dame, but I had taken that visit to Pitt because of him. So when I had to do my second recruitment, Wisconsin was a very, very top school that I was thinking about. I even took a visit up there before, but at the same time, coming from Notre Dame, I wanted an opportunity to play in the SEC at Florida, which it just at the time it was just a better move for what I wanted to do. But I was able to experience the calling on guys that I was relying on during the high school recruitment that still had that reached out, so those relationships still exist. And it was good to be able to get that openness to play again for those guys. But, at the same time, like you said, when you're leaving a situation like Notre Dame, I'm thinking a championship. I didn't think at the time Wisconsin was at the level where Florida was coming off of the 2 SEC championships, was in position. So I had to end up going to Florida. So
it was another. Didn't someone actually come to South Bend?
Gus Malzahn came from Auburn, came to South Bend Airport and went to the hotel across the street. And that was another opportunity, and it was just something about Florida at the time where I had the right things going on. But yeah, that the recruiting gets real, mate. Now, I don't think that with it being so big now, coaches will be flying around like, for instance, Gus Malzahn flew for me. They might do it for Caleb. I would do it for Caleb, but
in a heartbeat.
So with it being so many people now, it's probably a little more organized from how schools communicate. But back when it first was hot, it was kind of really more of the Wild West than it is now.
And speaking of Caleb Williams, we have a couple of questions in the chat that I may bring up, but I would say this, and I want to get your thoughts. Great article written by Brian Driscoll on Irish Breakdown, where he feels like Notre Dame should not reach out to Caleb Williams. And he said, as talented as he is, he feels like moving forward, Notre Dame needs to set its own precedent with identifying quarterbacks and developing their own quarterbacks as a top-notch program. And honestly, as I slightly disagree, I slightly agree with that, because I do believe, regardless of whether or not they call him, you still need to get Dante Moore, and you still need to develop. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's mutually exclusive. Not one necessarily calls another. It still needs to happen, but in the meantime,
and even if you call him, Tyler Buckner still needs to be developed.
Yeah, 100%.
So the narrative, I definitely agree that the narrative surrounding the quarterback room in-house needs to be changed, and that needs to be worked on, and that's paramount. But the opportunity, if he was interested, which he is not, the opportunity just would be too great to elevate the program immediately.
Oh man, we become national contenders with one transfer with Caleb Williams.
And oh man, that would be a barn burner against Ohio State. That's all I would say. That would be a barn.
I'll put money on us.
Yeah, because you love Caleb. You absolutely love Caleb. So
I just think, when you're talking about getting a chance against a defense of those top 2 or 3 caliber, you need a guy that if you don't have a running game, if what you game plan didn't go as game planned in the game, this guy can get you out of that situation and turn it into something positive. So there's few guys in the country that can do that. Maybe Tyler can be that guy.
Yeah.
But you can tell right off the bat, guys that can do it like CJ Stroud, your Bryce Youngs. I believe Caleb's in that room at least. That I can know that if we didn't have, for instance, Jack Cohn proved that he wasn't that guy. That if he didn't have a run game, can he throw the ball 70 times and win? No. Do I think that with Caleb, if we gave him 70 opportunities in a game, I don't even think he would take as many throws because he would have some big explosive runs in there. You know, some of the passes that he puts on the money, you know, a lot of different things would happen. But I do believe that he's one of the few guys in the country that can give us a chance against Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, if what we thought was going to work didn't work. So with Tyler, I think he has the ability to make plays, but we'll see this season with a full game. Are they going to trust him, or are they going to try to throw somebody else in at the same time?
Yeah. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Talking about transfer portal, the must-haves in the offseason. Mike Golic Jr. coming up at the top of the hour. Let's get to a couple of comments. Matt Anderson, all this talk about Caleb Williams. What would that do to Tyler's confidence to get passed over? And maybe Williams doesn't have the grades for ND. We talked about this yesterday. We got to stop going to.
We got to stop this grades thing.
Stop the grades thing as Notre Dame fans. Like, he had the grades when he was in high school. So this is an intelligent kid. Stop falling for that. Like, just really, man, like the majority of these kids that are 5 stars and 4 stars have the grades. That was a narrative that was put out there to make an excuse for why the former just chose not to
recruit
kids or go after kids in a transfer portal. Now, there are certain rules with transfers at Notre Dame, just not athletes, just students in general. So that may be the case, like number of credit hours and all of that. But saying somebody might not have the grades, it's just time out for that. It's time out for that. You know, when you see the middle linebacker who's a 5-star for Alabama as an academic All-American, when they flash that up in the ACC championship game, and he's a top 1-2 round pick. And you see N'Kobe Dean and Tyndall, the 2 middle linebackers for Georgia, that are engineering majors. Because we always joke, well, if you go to Georgia, you're definitely not taking some real classes. They're both engineering majors with 3.9 GPAs. It's like, dude, those days are done. Like, stop. These kids are smart. They have more access to information and education than they were previously given. The kids are bussed out of their neighborhoods to school, charter schools. It's a different day. And the athlete is just because they're a really good football player, they're not just a dumb job. They're just not. And we got to get over that and stop putting that on kids, especially when it comes to Notre Dame. Like, and we could care less that he doesn't want to come to Notre Dame. We would love for him to be at Notre Dame, but we could care less. Because the bigger issue is they didn't recruit him out of high school. That's the issue. And that's the one thing we keep saying to the fan base. You have been lied to. The former never went after big-time talent. But they kept telling you, you know, they're not a fit. Some of these guys are not a fit. It was a flat-out lie. They just flat-out never went out and went after the big-time talent in college football and high school football. They didn't. They talked big. What they did was they sat at the little kids' table and they ear hustled the adult table, trying to sound like they know what's going on at the adult table. All the while, they're at the little kiddie table.
Eating small potatoes.
Eating small potatoes. And that's what it's been like as a Notre Dame fan. That's what we've been experiencing. Getting grown folk conversation. Meanwhile, we're going out there operating like a mom and pop store on the corner.
When we're Walmart.
Yeah. So it's like now we're conditioned every time a kid says no, oh, he must not be a Notre Dame fit. That's not it.
But I do think it has changed in some sense because we are recruiting a Dante. How seriously are we recruiting Dante is the next question. But I think it has changed. I mean, if you're not getting Caleb, but you're recruiting Dante, that's some of the similar talent, you know. So I think that is a positive outlook. But now it's about how serious is it? As serious as it was for Angeli? Is it as serious as it was for Tyler Buckner? So I think you know that must have with Dante Moore is another probably more reasonable ask from the football gods, but I think this is a better fit as well. I mean, you got 3 or 4 years with this kid. This will be, I think Tyler has some NIL opportunities, but I think with how the rules are gotten so far, how kids are doing it now, I think even Dante Moore is going to have a huge chance for some NIL opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a chance for Notre Dame to use this recruiting office. Are we too big to be like the panhandlers and duffel bag carriers of the SEC? Are we too big to give out money? Are we or is there a more Notre Dame way to recruit during the NIL era? So I think that's really what it comes down to.
And this is honestly, we're more than likely on the back end, and I don't know anything. More than likely, we're on the back end of the legacy of Jack Swarbrick. So he wants his legacy to be laid out a certain way. He's already updated the facilities. The football program has already gotten back to the respectability and the national acclaim that it deserves. And there's still more to do. But I think he wants that national championship that he can walk out the door on. I really believe that. And in the next 2 years, hopefully Marcus Freeman can bring that. But, you know, like you said, everything that's been done with recruiting, you see the 2023 recruits, they have their own picture. They've been tweeting it, recruiting like crazy, saying, come join us. Peyton Bowen going hard at his teammate, Jackson Arnold. Another linebacker from a school out of Denton, Texas, David Hill, tweeted out yesterday that he got his offer, 5-star linebacker, but I thought 5-star linebackers from the South don't want to come to Notre Dame. You hear what I'm saying? Like, oh, we can never get a 5-star linebacker out of the South. No, we can't steal him from Texas, Texas A&M, Alabama. Well, guess who's going after him? Guess who got up from the kiddie table and walked over to the grown folks table and pulled up a chair like, I'm here.
Marcus give me that gravy over there. Hand me that gravy over there.
That gravy. Hand it to me. That's some potatoes. Give me one of the steaks, one of the ribeyes. What's good? What we talking about?
Big piece of chicken. Big piece of chicken.
Absolutely. And that's what you have to do. That's why we said yesterday he's swinging big. Just not on coaches. He's swinging big on recruits, and he's letting everybody know. Yeah, we lost in the Fiesta Bowl. We still here. We're still doing what we said we were going to do.
That's right.
Now what?
That's right.
Now
and
what?
That's what you need, because then when you're recruiting guys like that, you get guys like Peyton Bowen who help manage your job when you can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
So now you got an ace in the hole with a Peyton Bowen that's reaching out to guys. So you at multiple places at once, but it's because you're shooting for the stars. We landed amongst Peytons and the Tyson Fords and the 5-star linebackers, which is, you know, in my opinion, yeah, you better get a 5-star linebacker. You the ultimate linebacking head coach.
Sure.
If we had Tom Brady as a head coach, he better be getting the number 1 quarterback. So from a recruiting standpoint, you can say he's doing his job. You know, we're making headlines with recruiting defensively because we got a great defensive head coach. Now it comes down to even more involvement with, can we do the same script for the offense? Can Tommy be that superstar wave for this recruiting class to get guys latched on, getting a Dante Moore who'll start recruiting his own receivers? You know, sometimes when you a package deal, you come in with guys that already rock with you in high school. That makes offering and recruiting a lot easier when Dante can be like, hey, I need this kid, and this kid. What's up? Let's make it happen. you know.
Yeah, and I can't wait.
And,
Yeah, go ahead. I can't wait to talk to Aaron Kearney and see what really went into the Think Big campaign with the 23 class and how it came about, because it's genius.
yeah.
You got the number one class in the nation right now, and you have those guys that have committed wanting to own that. Like, we're number one, come join us. And when you see that, it's like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
And these are the type of classes that it takes to get to those national to build those national championship blocks. Mm-hmm. Because now you got a group that not only is well recruited as the number one class, but now they're fitting chemistry together.
Yeah.
So they have team chemistry coming in. They're going to shake up the starting roster spot, similar to what we did in 2012, 2013 with my class when we came in. We had guys like Jalen Smith, Corey Robinson, Tarian Folston. You know, you got Steve Elmer, guys that are making impacts. Cole Lukes, you got guys that make impacts the first time going out there. And that's huge, you know, because that raises the level of the whole team when the freshman class is coming in, getting playing time, taking reps from guys. So this is all a part of the plan that Marcus really wanted to put together in terms of competitive spirit. And it starts in recruiting. When the recruiting class that isn't even at school is competitive and getting more guys to be the number one in the country, it only can be, in turn, the number one in the country when they get on the team. So that's the goal.
Lefty Podcast. I'm Shaun Davis at SD2 Mics. Malik Zaire, Overtime Malik, talking about the must-haves in 2022. You must get a top-notch wide receiver coach. Must. We don't know how these dominoes are going to fall. Mm-hmm. We don't know if Ryan Day leaves. We don't know if Brian Hartline becomes available. We don't know if he leaves. If Luke Fickell is the next head coach. We talked about Holman from Alabama. Will he be open to leaving Alabama and coming to Notre Dame? We talked about the wide receiver coach at Purdue.
At Purdue, yeah.
The job he's done with Rondale Moore, David Bell. Getting a wide receiver coach that's respected is a must-have with professional development. You need someone that has that resume to say, yo, I just put Rondale Moore and David Bell into the NFL.
What would you think of if we got, considering how now is such a popular thing with social media, what if we got like a superstar quarterback trainer as a quarterback coach, like a Quincy Avery or one of these top guys in California, like a Clarkson? Do you think that that's more of a new age type of hire, similar to how NFL teams are hiring these top Mel Kiper type analysts, you know, to be their GMs? So maybe from a quarterback standpoint, these top quarterback coaches that coach Deshaun Watson and Justin Fields and all the guys that you're seeing in the league now, sort of how George Winfield was, or one of these left coast West Athletics, you know, just one of these quarterback top trainers possibly being the quarterback coach, because then it's all about technique, or even the top receiver coach. I know a lot of great receiver coaches that are like, you know, one-off that guys go to in the offseason. So maybe even going down that route, because at least you know they're going to get great technique work, at least in practice. So you can't say we're not developing. You can't say, now they may not be the biggest X and O guys, but trust me, there's a lot of eggheads at Notre Dame on that staff that love X and O's enough to go around. So I think having some guys on the team that are just straight technique people, you know, like Bayless is a strength coach. If we have just technique coaches, I think that'll get us a far way in development.
It'll be interesting. I don't know. And the reason I say it'll be interesting is because I just saw that Marcus Freeman was acknowledged for being a part of the Minority Coaches Athletic Association. And him and another coach were acknowledged. Marcus Freeman actually took part in the NFL mock interview process, and he was acknowledged for that. So that was just something else he did while he was out there in Arizona. And I think that's why he's trying to get, if you look at his targets, he's really trying to get opportunities on a big stage to guys that have been out there at smaller platforms and smaller schools putting it in. I mean, of course, Holman's at Alabama. There is no bigger platform than that. But I think that's what he's all about. So do I think he's about to go the route of gurus right now? I don't think so from a coaching standpoint directly. Now, from a consultant standpoint, it's a possibility.
Yeah.
But we've heard nothing about quarterback coach. And I think Tommy probably feels he can do both. Maybe he'll have an intern that basically is the quarterback coach that we really don't hear about and that works with the quarterbacks while he's dealing with the offense. But I mean, down the line, definitely from a consultant standpoint, it will be good to have those names connected, to have that pipeline and connection to the young quarterbacks that are coming.
Yeah, because how else do you develop players just in general? If you're not focused specifically on technique to get them better, I feel like just the nature of what it takes to be a defensive coordinator, a head coach, or offensive coordinator, you naturally just don't have enough time to spend on an individual position enough to give them the right development through a 4-year process to even be able to get ready to win championships, unless they're just super out of the park, top tier, gangster, number one picks. It's hard to expect that much out of a 17, 15, 16-year-old, or I'm sorry, 18, 19, 20-year-old. That's, when you're a pro, I get it. But when you're that young, a helping hand will help.
Yeah. So, we always say we don't do the passive aggressive troll thing. And, I've been trying to be nice the entire week since the bowl game. But, this person just, we love it, LL Nation. We must be doing a good job because there's been a ton of Oklahoma State fans watching us. It's a Notre Dame podcast, but they're complaining about the fact that we don't talk about Oklahoma State enough. That's really
crazy.
Weird, right? They're begging us, please talk about Oklahoma State. You're not giving Oklahoma State enough credit. We don't care about Oklahoma State.
Yeah, we're not here to, we don't think you're that good anyway.
Well, you said that. All I'm saying is we don't care because this is a Notre Dame podcast.
That's true.
Our job every day is to talk about Notre Dame and get Notre Dame content. That has zero to do with Oklahoma State. So this guy, Wet Blanket, that's been on every single conversation thread since the Fiesta Bowl. You can have all the talent in the world, but it won't matter unless they are coach. Good luck. Absolutely, I agree. So go get another coach because Mike Gundy has failed consistently because you haven't gotten to a college football playoff. You haven't been a serious contender for the college football playoff since this year. And with all the talent he hasn't gotten the job done. So I agree. Go get another coach. You're right. Go get another coach. I agree with you.
Wasn't they firing for some lightweight team dysfunction or something crazy? Yeah. Wouldn't you just
said it better? You couldn't have said it any better. You're right.
I wasn't talking about championships then. Y'all were talking about
you guys finally had a team
or something like that.
You finally had a team that didn't choke with all the talent on offense that you had over the years. You finally had a team that didn't choke and give away an opportunity to get to a New Year's Six-day bowl, right? Cool. I think the last time they did something, didn't they beat like Stanford and Andrew Luck before?
Well, once Texas and Oklahoma leaves the Big 12, they won't even be on TV. So
something like that. It's like, dude, you're right. You're right. Go get a coach that won't be ill-prepared facing a first-time head coach in a bowl game and get dominated in the first half. Yes, I agree. Go get a coach, a 13-year vet that won't do that. That won't get out-coached by a first-time rookie head coach in the first half. Yes, go get another head coach. Go get him. Go get Boone Pickens to cut the check and go get a better coach. Otherwise, you're going to have the same type of success that Notre Dame had to suffer. No, you won't. Matter of fact, the former coach of Notre Dame went to 2 college football playoffs, didn't he? 2. Didn't he? Yeah. 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 So you're happy that you barely beat a Notre Dame team without its two playmakers. You're ecstatic. Stillwater's like, woohoo! Y'all, first of all, y'all been begging to get on the your own coach said you've been begging to get on our schedule to get the look and help the program. Because obviously the program and the brand must be suffering. Hey, I'm sorry, Notre Dame fans, I got time today. He's been asking for it. He's been asking for it. So he's been asking for it. Then you know what he did? He threatened to unsubscribe. He tried to say that. So you want me to unsubscribe? I don't care. You're an Oklahoma State fan. I don't care what you do. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to be free to troll and not get exposed. We don't do that. Not in the Lucky Lefty podcast.
Not at this one.
Man, what did your parents tell you? Wherever you act up at, that's where I'm going to get you. You act up in public, I'm going to get you in public. So I had time today. You wanted to troll publicly? I'm going to put you on Front Street on our podcast. If you choose to unsubscribe, that's cool. We don't care. We hope you enjoy. Obviously, you've been here all week, so you must like the content.
That's all right.
And if you keep waiting for us to talk Oklahoma State football, we're not. We don't care. We don't care.
I want to talk.
We're more concerned about Notre Dame football.
That is true.
And we could talk. There's enough content for us to talk Notre Dame football without bringing up your school. And I'm going to be nice. I'm going to leave it there. Because there's a lot more I can say. But I think I'm going to leave it right there. That's enough.
Did it justice.
That's enough. I see people in the chat saying I got the red hat on. You know, the red hat must mean something. So let's get to some All-American bowl practice talk. Billy Schrauth, offensive guard coming to Notre Dame, has been dominant in the one-on-ones, according to reports. Oh, before we get to that, also, we want to let you guys know there have been several crystal balls on 247. We have to give them credit that Brandon Joseph is going to choose Notre Dame and is very interested in Notre Dame. So he has had, I think, 2 to 3 crystal balls say that he's going to choose Notre Dame in the process in the transfer portal. So that sounds good. Billy Schrauth is looking good. Tyson Ford actually got down there yesterday for practice. And like I said, Billy Schrauth is dominating. Tobias Merriweather in one-on-ones. There's video going around of him going up, high pointing the ball in the end zone. I didn't realize I was watching the video. Yo, he can run.
He can run.
He can run.
Surprising.
Yeah. And you know what? If you add the veteran wide receivers, some more veteran wide receivers, and you bring Avery Davis back, you know, he can just be one of those impact freshmen like Lorenzo Styles was.
Yeah, and hopefully even more in the game.
Yeah.
Get more in the game than Lorenzo Styles his first year, just because with what he can add as a person that defenses aren't keying on because he's a freshman, can give us some opportunities downfield, especially in that position that can be upgraded. Avery Davis has done a good job of coming back off an injury, being a little older. It'd be nice to get some fresher legs at that position. Because Styles needs to be inside, outside, you know, in the backfield. Big Styles fan.
Yeah, we need to use him everywhere.
And then you got a kid like Billy Schrauth who is doing a good job of just carrying that lineage. You know, when Quentin Nelson was down there, he was giving them hell. Billy Schrauth down there doing the same thing. And a lot of that, too, is we get the right type of guys when Harry Heastand's in the building. You know, not just good linemen. We get the super crazy but really disciplined ones, too. You know,
right.
So finding that mix of having a all-around guy at a position is the key. And I think that's, you know, has to be infectious to other position groups like what we talked about.
So let's get to a couple of super chats. Real Sports Talk with Alex. How you doing this morning? Peyton Bowen putting in work with recruiting, really the entire class of 2023, reaching out to top high school talent. I love this culture change under Freeman. LL fam, have a great or a good day. We appreciate you.
And these are the moments we're supposed to enjoy, because if you look at other coaches that go into schools, when is the last time you've seen these coaches turn their recruiting around and get number one? So these are the small victories and the bricks that are laid in getting into a championship. For a first-year head coach to beat right now Nick Saban and Ohio State and Kirby Smart at their own game and recruiting, and this is not even your full offseason yet, you're definitely saying something for the season that's coming after.
Absolutely. Michael Graves, appreciate you. Read him them tea leaves. You know what, man? People don't know. I was gracious,
I was gracious.
I was talking back and forth with Wet Blanket in the comments after the show. And it's like, yo, he keeps begging for attention. Like, still now, you won't give us credit for the comeback. 37-35, give us credit. Dude, go. Don't you have an Oklahoma State podcast?
Yeah.
You can get all the credit for the comeback there. You get nothing here. We're all Notre Dame all the time.
And you get nothing and like it.
You get nothing here. That has nothing to do with being poor sports. Why would I waste time talking about Oklahoma State when I have a ton? Dude, we don't get to all the Notre Dame content we have written down every day. You see all this stuff I got written down? I'm not going to get to all of that. It's enough. We can do 2 hours on Notre Dame. There's no need to mention Oklahoma State. But I had time for you today. I see you're not talking that coach talk no more. I had time for you today. But I will say this. You were this close. You haven't been to one, but you were this close to making to the college football playoff. But you came up short. Came up a little bit short.
And they're going to be back for a while.
I'm trying to get to these super chats. As Shaun, can we talk about ECU? That's why I'm here. At Wet Blanket, congrats on your win. Next time, be a different story. No, I doubt it. We probably, unless he's in the college football playoff, we probably never play him again because we don't want them on the regular season schedule. Mike Gundy's been begging us. He said he's been begging us, and we're booked up to 2028. So Mike Gundy won't even be there.
Yeah, he has to call. He has to call the front desk.
Since they won't, since the Big 12 won't be the Big 12 anymore.
Yeah, they're not even going to be they're not going to get no TV time. Texas and Oklahoma leaving.
Playing them does nothing for us. Not in the regular season. I'm not hurt at all. Hurt. We got the number one. Let me see what Oklahoma State's recruiting ranking is. I know we're number one.
He go to Oklahoma State all day today.
Oklahoma State
agree.
Recruiting ranking is. What do you think, bro? Shout out to, I want to give flowers to, I think it was 75 to 78. That Russ Browner.
Yeah, Ross Browner, man.
Yeah, he's a Warren, Ohio guy around you. Passed away. Notre Dame legend. First round pick. I think he was the 8th overall pick in 79. And shout out, prayers and condolences to his family and to his loved ones. And we appreciate what he meant to the Notre Dame family and what he meant to the National Football League. We want to send our prayers out to the entire Browner family.
Straight up. Yeah, we definitely on here.
What'd you say?
I said we definitely on here, man. Ross Browner, man, whenever you lose a legend like that, it definitely just impacts the program. In mad respect to, another Ohio legend. Just carrying the torch, man. Just carrying the torch.
Oh, that's what's up. Oh man, my fault. Oklahoma State's ranked number 26. My fault. My fault. My fault. My fault.
See, we got to give Oklahoma State the 5-second rule, Shaun.
Yeah, they played the B squad. You know what I'm saying, with a full tank and barely beat us, and now they want to come on our show and talk Grizzly. There's no need to block them. We don't do that. There's no need to block them.
So no need to.
Ooh, he's 0-1 against Gundy, and he's still going to get to more college football playoffs than Mike Gundy. Still, that's the thing. He's 0-1 against Mike Gundy. Hold on to that, because I guarantee you over the next 5 years, Marcus Freeman will make more college football playoffs than Mike Gundy.
In a short time.
In a short time.
It ain't going to take 13.
You can have 13 years, the long hair. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm a man. Mess with me. Talk to me like that. You can have all of that.
That's right.
It means nothing. We care less. I told you I had time today.
My
co-host had no idea this was coming.
I didn't know.
I had time today. I got time today. You can keep messing with me. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you right where you at. Jay Clampett. Woo! Like the Beverly Hillbillies. Judd Clampett Investments. Thank you for the super chat. Malik, when you're going to check Shaun, the alternate nights were legit in football and hoops. Shaun, you need to recognize. Wait a minute. Yeah,
let me tell you.
About the conversation we had yesterday, and we have a special guest coming on. I want to see how they chime in with this, because it literally depends upon the school, right? If your high school is a football factory, the football players will pull more girls. Listen, and if it's a basketball factory, the basketball team pulls the better girls. It's simple.
You're talking about one of the greatest high schools in America, the Alternate High School.
Here we go.
Archbishop Alter in Kettering, Ohio, my high school. We have the greats that went there: Nick Mangold, Jeff Graham, Chris Borland. And we have one of the greatest, John Paxson. Let's minimize my small school of 700 in the whole school, but we produce giant results. We produce Notre Dame quarterbacks, presidents, whatever you want. You're talking about something special. So yeah, we out here. Shout out Alternate, and also, when it comes to basketball, we might have to say something to you guys down there in Chicago. We got Javon Simmons, who's on the Michigan basketball staff, that had a lot to tell you. We were really good all around the board, man. Let me tell you what.
See, now you're reaching with 5 fouls. You're doing too much. Let's welcome to the Lucky Lefty Podcast. ESPN's, you can catch them every day, Shanae and Golic Jr., and also former Notre Dame offensive lineman Mike Golic Jr. Welcome to the Lucky Lefty Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. Appreciate you having me. Nothing like coming back in. The most prevalent thing in any college football locker room is like the revisionist high school trash talk of everyone lining up their old high school teams and talking about who would beat who. Like between that and the LeBron Jordan debate, I knew nothing could fire up any section of the locker room, just like sprinkling a little bit of that in.
No way. It's no way to even solve the argument. It's a forever going whose high school is better.
Well, and that's the best part of that's the foundation of what we do in like sports talking in the media, right? It's like a bunch of arguments that no one can ever actually settle. Right. And that's what will continually till the end of time piss the most people off. So
well, we're hoping you can settle a big time argument on Lucky Lefty Podcast, because we don't know if you know this, we are a chocolate chip oatmeal raisin podcast. That is the ultimate debate. Now, we saw you go viral dunking an Oreo at the Mayo Bowl in mayonnaise. Yeah. So if you had a choice, which one would it be? Would you dunk the chocolate chip or the oatmeal raisin?
It's only one right answer.
Oh yeah, it's chocolate chip.
Oh,
it's not even a question. Oatmeal raisin, like that's like you buy. Like don't get me wrong, oatmeal raisin cookies, they got their place in the kingdom. It's certainly somewhere below the chocolate chip folks though. Like most people when they bite into Yeah, most people, when they bite into an oatmeal raisin, they're expecting chocolate chips, and all of a sudden they sink their teeth in it and they get chewy chocolate chips. And like, damn, no, why?
Right.
That's right.
So, Mike, it's safe to say that the last month at Notre Dame has been a wave of emotions. And as a former player, what was it like for you, and what was the feeling having to experience it, being connected to the university and possibly wanting something to happen, but then having to go and talk about it in the media? What was that like for you on a daily basis?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, I've now been doing this job in the media longer than I have done anything in my life consistently, right? Like, I was at Notre Dame for 5 years. I bounced around and tried to make NFL teams for 3, and then I've been doing this for 6 now. So I feel like that distance has kind of helped. Like, my 10-year reunion's coming up for Notre Dame. So I've been out of there long enough to where I am still a fan. Anyone that has been around me on a Notre Dame game day understands, like, I am the worst version of myself, because now that I can't affect outcomes, I am stressed to the max during these things.
But Mike, are you like us? We talked about this the day before the Fiesta Bowl. I was telling everybody my wife and daughter have to leave the house. Like, they have to get out.
I made the mistake. I've watched one game in like the last 3 years with people, and it was the Notre Dame Clemson win in South Bend for the Irish. But I was with my parents, and I scared the dogs. I was like drinking most of the time. It was like, none of it was good. And I saw the look in my parents' eyes, realizing this was the young man that they had raised. And so I'm not going to make that mistake anymore. I watch isolated by myself,
Right.
and I don't mess around with all that. But all that to say, like, I think a little bit of the distance has made it easier for me to evaluate this situation, right? Like, I was there when Brian first got there in 2010. He was the second coach. I was there. Charlie Weiss had recruited me. I had him for 2 years. And so I had seen the beginnings. I had seen the ways that this had grown. But, like, you also understand now, pulling back that 30,000-foot view the way I do as someone covering college football, covering sports at ESPN, is you see, all right, what Brian has done in 10 years. He leaves as the all-time winningest head coach in Notre Dame history. He passes Nuke bleeping Rockne. But there had still been that last barrier of being able to go and get the thing that had eluded him. They don't put statues up for you around Notre Dame Stadium unless you've won a national championship. And that had been the thing that had eluded Brian. And so when I did kind of the cost-benefit analysis of this from his perspective, I said, all right, you've been to the BCS title once and lost. You've been to the CFP twice and lost, and it's never really looked close. And so I'm sure in his mind, after a decade plus at that spot, he felt like he had tapped into everything he was going to be able to. And those questions arise of, can you do this? Can you win a title at Notre Dame in modern football? And so he asked himself that question, saw a place in LSU where the previous 3 head coaches had won national championships, and said, I might have a good chance to go in here and smash that last piece of the resume. So I could understand, even though emotionally, man, it's a little bit of a pride hit if you're someone involved in Notre Dame to see that. I can understand logically why Brian might make that decision.
You know what confused us is that after the fact, when we found out that he had gone to Jack Swarbrick in the middle of the season requesting more money or seeing if he could get more money after already getting an extension the previous year, I think for most Notre Dame fans, when they found out that information, that's when they really start to feel like, okay, now I feel like you're playing us. It wasn't really about the money. It was about the fact that you couldn't get the money from us. So then you wanted to go look elsewhere. So I think that's what had a lot of Notre Dame fans feeling kind of jilted by Brian Kelly.
And one, again, it's a 10-plus year relationship, Malik. Yeah. Like, there's going to be a lot of that emotion baked into it.
Especially when you think about 10 years, you think about the message. It's hard to keep up a same message of the 4 quarters of winning, of your everyday next man in. It's kind of hard to keep that up 10 years. And plus, I think he saw the writing on the wall. I think he couldn't get over himself to make the changes necessary in modern football, as in having a Trevor Lawrence type of guy or that level to really help the program in the ways it needed. And I think it was just too based off of what he saw those statues as and how they led those teams. And it's just a hard way to win nowadays with the kids that are around.
It is. I'll give Brian credit in this. I think he did something really hard in modern college football. And if we can look to his predecessor at Les Miles at LSU, one of the predecessors there, Les was given the charge back, before he got let go there. Hey, you got to change and evolve this thing because we're watching Nick Saban do that. And if you don't, you'll get fired. And Les Miles did not have the capacity to change. After that 4-8 season for Brian, though, he looked at a lot of the things inside this program. You know this. When Coach Longo got let go, I mean, that was a big thing. The strength and conditioning coach is the 1B for everyone in command in college football. And so seeing him make a lot of those changes, to me, and even, personality-wise, what we saw him publicly change so much, listening more to guys, like, that's hard to do for anyone. So I give him a ton of credit for that. But that is, what you mentioned is that next step for Notre Dame is we haven't seen a quarterback for Notre Dame go in the first round of the NFL draft in a while, be one of those top overall prospects. And that combined with, getting more depth at skill positions. Because we've all seen, like, man, tight ends, O-line, D-line, we got you. We got you covered and all that. Like, we can recruit beef with the best of them. And we've had really good skill players, but you just see when you get on these big stages, the depth at some of those positions is, I think, where that next step is. And it's not something that I think is unattainable anymore, but it was certainly, as like you said, we identify over 12 years or whatever ended up being kind of the consistent through line.
Mike Golic Jr. from Sinead and Mike Golic Jr. joining us right here. You can hear him every day on ESPN Radio. This is the Lucky Lefty Podcast. I'm Shaun Davis, Malik Zaire, the original Lucky Lefty himself. Mike, when you look at those 12 years and now we transition to what we call the MF era, which I love saying that. MF era. That's right. That's how we're coming at college football. And I said, I'm not watching that Fiesta Bowl ever again. Ever. I'm done. And I'm like Marcus Freeman in his post-game comments. We're done with that. We're moving on. The honeymoon is over. Now it's time to go to work. You've been part of establishing a culture and establishing a winning culture that ended up going 12 years. What is it like as an athlete to establish that culture? And how patient does the fan base need to be with Marcus Freeman to see the fruition and the benefits of what he's trying to establish?
Very patient. Like, if you think you've got the right guy, you got to see it through. Like, you got to see it through. But you know what? It's interesting too, because this is a little more complex with Marcus, because it's not a full culture change here. Like, when Brian came in and when Charlie came in before him, it was kind of this gradual build up to where they had been, right? When Charlie came in after Ty left, things needed some help there. When Brian came in after Charlie left, they had some success. They had gotten to BCS games, but you needed to, have that consistency borne out over more time. You have a lot of the same staff in place there. You've been able to keep the same strength staff in place, which we talked about as important. And I think more important than anything else, you've got a locker room that has done a ton of winning now. And Malik, I mean, you guys both know this. The establishing of a culture thing is just deciding what you're going to accept on a daily basis and then getting the results necessary to reinforce that to people, because you can do the first part with the guys in the locker room of saying, hey, all right, like, this is how we're going to operate here. Someone new's come in. That puts everyone on heightened awareness, because once they make a change at the top, it kind of sends that message that, all right, if I was comfortable with the way things we got someone new calling the shots now. So I'm not guaranteed anything at this point. So it puts everyone up on edge. There is that newness in the honeymoon phase, but then it goes back to what these guys know, which is just like success is all these habits they've done, the little things every day borne out over time. And the reason it's grown is because we broke through originally. We had, the winning season in 2012. We had success after that where now you can point to the outside world. This is where someone like Joe Judge right now with the Giants is running into issues, right? He's talking about process, but he doesn't have results to back it up yet. And so it gets really hard to sell belief to people that are going to be coming from the outside into your program. But you combine those two, and now I think the advantage Marcus has walking into this is, one, he's already earned the trust of that locker room in record time. You see the way, you guys know this, like, it's hard to come in a year and do what he did and to get that response he did, especially when the guys like the coach before that was there in Clark Lee. But now you've got a locker room that's bought into him and also is going to continue to set that tempo of, hey, we know what works up to a certain point. Now, the challenge for them is, we got to explore what it takes to get beyond that sticking point we found at the top. But that's where I think Marcus is going to have certainly an advantage is, one, he's already got time under task here, but two, he's already got a locker room that kind of understands a lot of the built-in stuff that, it takes to win.
Now, the third piece I would add is the recruiting side of things. Now, do you think that the hyper drive or the thing that can really set Marcus Freeman specifically off in getting the culture established with results? How big is the Ohio State game and preparing for that and the win in the shoe result to the culture being defined in the process?
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame's going to continue to be defined in the national stage by this big game narrative that's popped up here. We saw it in the bowl games, 0-10 in the BCS or title or CFP games. Like, that's going to be a tough stain to rub off. And we got a little bit of that against Clemson the other year. But again, this is I always say about trust, it's gained in drops and lost in buckets, right? Like, we've tipped over the bucket a few too many times on the big stage for a lot of people. And so we got to put these big drops back in. And I think that early season matchup's going to be huge. I just think in general, though, what you mentioned about recruiting, we've already started to see change. Like, that's the lifeblood of college football, right? You can only get to a certain point until you can recruit at the level that we've seen Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia. Like, at some point, football is a simple game, and college football even more so. So that's been the biggest and I think most encouraging thing for a lot of people, seeing Marcus come over and already have such an impact on these classes, the caliber of players they're already starting to pull in. That's the next step up in all this. And, to Marcus's credit now, he has thrown himself fully into that. Like, everyone can get to him. He wants all the recruits to be able to talk to the head man. He wants to be involved in all that. And, that's, I think, something we've seen successful coaches do elsewhere. You see Nick Saban in all these living rooms. Like, when Nick Saban was out here having to do TikTok dances, you realize the game had fully changed, right? You had to give yourself to that. And so Marcus understands that. And the rest of it is going to be what we saw in the Fiesta Bowl, is just learning these in-game situations for the first time. Do I think Oklahoma State was overall a better team than Notre Dame? No. But they got a coach who's been coaching for almost 200 games on that other sideline, and Mike Gundy, who made the necessary adjustments. And on the other side, we saw a coach going through his first collegiate football game as a head coach at 35 years old in the bleeping Fiesta Bowl. Like, that's an insane thing to think about. Even though he had been there that whole season, you plugged him into that head spot and everyone else had to do a little bit more. And it just stresses a little bit differently. And the chain of command looks different. And so all of that, like, that 21-point lead, like, it's amazing that it
wasn't big enough.
But ultimately, I think that loss is probably going to be a good thing, because it kind of resets us to go, all right, this is the circumstance he came into here. It would have been insane for him to go out there and body bag Oklahoma State in that game in his first ever game. And it probably would have put this in a place that's even more unrealistic expectation-wise than it's already been for him. So while I'm sure, and listen, we all want to win that game, we're all prideful, it could end up being a blessing, because it kind of makes us all go, all right, there's work to do. We know that, but we believe we've got the people that are more than capable of it.
That's the 100% truth. We tried to preach that to the entire Notre Dame fan base immediately after the game. Like, we understand you're upset, but we just got shown who we really are.
Yeah.
So now we know where we're starting from and how far we have to go to get to where we want to be. Now we just have to trust that Marcus Freeman is going to do the right things to get us there. And you talk about the championship game in 2012. When before you walked on the field and after the game when you were walking off the field, did you think in 2022 Nick Saban would still have a stranglehold on college football after that game?
Man, I've learned that there are just some people you don't doubt. Like Nick Saban, Tom Brady, LeBron James. I'm never going to be the one that steps up to be first in line to say this is the end of that person, especially with Nick, because it's not like it's predicated on his physical ability. Like, he is, and I mentioned Brian being able to, navigate change in the way that he had to approach things mid-career. Nick Saban's the poster for that. Nick Saban has done this every way possible with an unholy amount of coaching turnover and the assistants around him, changes in the format of the sport, changes in the way we see offensive football played in college, NIL, all this stuff. and it doesn't matter. He is the most adaptable machine in college football. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm preparing to have to explain to my kids one day as I send them off to college. All right, this cyborg you're going up against is Nick Saban. He's been around for a long time. He has ended a lot of other people's careers in a way that sucks, and he's probably going to do the same to you.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy. So, in your opinion, Kurt Herbstreit went viral for some things he said, on the set of ESPN Game Day, College Game Day, and in your thought, in the way you went through recruiting and the way you see these young people approach recruiting today, does it have anything to do with how they view football or the love for football, or is it just really that they have access to a lot more things to give their attention to? And that's what we see manifesting, when you see them either jumping into the transfer portal after a year, sitting out bowl games, flip-flopping from schools, even during the high school recruiting. What is the main reason that the culture of college football and high school football sits where it is today?
Money.
Yeah.
That's the simplest answer that everything else trickles down from. And listen, Kurt, Dez, all those guys, they're teammates. I have a ton of respect for, what they've done for college football and the way that they cover it. I just disagree with them, wholeheartedly on the view of this, because it's what you just mentioned. And I heard Stephen Godfrey's a great college football reporter who brought this up and made me kind of realize the framework of this, because the conversation started around bowl games and value and all these things. Just the way everything's grown, again, because we can make money off of all this stuff. Back when Kirk and Dez were in college, there were, 15 to 18 bowl games as opposed to 43 now? It was different in the way that people viewed all of that. The places that you could be seen on TV, it's different now. But you mentioned all the things pulling at players. I just think they're more aware because they have to be, right? Recruiting in the last 15 years. So I haven't been recruited since 2007, 2006 when I was going through that process in high school. It's night and day. You've got to grow up so much faster now because all those camps that were starting when I was in high school, the Spark camps, all these things that you went to get exposure. It's a different world now between that, the 7-on-7 leagues, and these things that are seen as requirements for your entry into this process. If you want to be recruited, it forces you to make high-level business decisions in the way that you approach this. Because again, now coaches aren't being paid, tens of thousands of dollars. They're being paid multi-millions of dollars. TV rights, all this stuff's in there, means the stakes are higher for everyone, including these players, that a lot of them understand. My opportunity to change my life forever is getting to the NFL and getting the money that this game can give me. So that's at the core of all of this. Is I think guys are forced to treat this like a business at an earlier age because all the rest of us, the adults in the room, decided it was a business, saw there was money to be made in this process. Now players are just aware of that. And it's going to happen even sooner now with this NIL stuff. This is going to have an effect on this entire process in the way guys have to make decisions even sooner. So all this is just going to get sped up. But I have a lot of empathy for these players because, listen, as far as loving football, football's meant different things to different people for a long time. Malik, we've all played with guys who didn't like football, but liked what football can do for them. That's been a consistent through time here. It's just now you've got so many other opportunities and avenues to explore those other things. You're not just locked into football. So I have a lot of empathy for guys because they've got to grow up a lot faster in the way they approach this thing as a business. So it doesn't just get to be Friday Night Lights for as long as it got to be for so many of us coming up. I think that's just the difference, but it all trickles back to there's a ton of money that's been building up in the sport around these players. And they looked around and said, oh, wait, we should be getting more of this. So now the NIL happens. Now player opt-outs happen because they see what's on the other side of that NFL draft wall. All of this just goes back to the money's been building up in this thing for so long. And now players just looked around and are more aware of how to get their piece of that.
Yeah, can Jack Swarbrick and Notre Dame be creative enough in this?
Yeah, that was my question.
To take advantage and create something in Notre Dame that can maybe not compete on the same level of giving guys $50,000 just for being an old lineman in Texas, but something to be able to be attractive to recruits.
I think Notre Dame has an extremely motivated and well-funded fan base that is extremely creative and more yes, I think Notre Dame's capable. And if we want to talk about the leadership of Jack Swarbrick too, I mean, maybe the most important figure in Notre Dame football over the last decade. Like, Jack Swarbrick is in every meaningful room where decisions are being made for the entirety of college football. Every time we got to read this stuff on air, it is the 10 conference commissioners and Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick. That is a rare. And for something like, again, as we look around the room now, like Greg Sankey is, the king kahuna in that room of conference commissioners. All the rest of these guys are largely new. Like when you look at the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the ACC, Jim Phillips, George Kliavkoff, all these guys are new guys. Kevin Warren is tenured in the Alliance at 2 years, 3 years on the job now. So when you look, it's Greg Sankey and Jack Swarbrick are really the guys that are the tenured decision makers in the room. So if I'm going to trust someone to help us navigate, it's going to be the guy with the proven track record for sure.
And I really hear that's the battle that's going on in that room between 8 to 12. Like the SEC wants 12 to assure they get more teams in, and most other conferences want an expansion to 8 teams. And ultimately, the SEC, being the big dog in the room, can always walk away and just be like, all right, until you guys see what we want or do what we want, we won't sign on to it. And that's been the holdup pretty much, is the SEC stomping their feet, throwing a tantrum because they want what they want.
Well, and because everyone else felt slighted, right? Like, this is a human business, and all these guys saw the Oklahoma and Texas thing and felt like, oh, man, we weren't made privy to this. What else are you not telling us? Because remember, the summer before that, they had floated this 12-team playoff. Everyone was kind of in on this.
Yeah,
nice gateway for these other conferences. But that Oklahoma and Texas thing and the way it went about happening all kind of changed the tenor around that, because human beings get hurt feelings. And, like, that's understandable to me.
Yeah.
It even hurt the coaching changes. I mean, coaching changes started happening faster with the change in Oklahoma and Texas. Lincoln Riley leaves immediately. His feelings were hurt, apparently and clearly. And he even took the staff with him. So it just changes how the landscape has worked for everybody, especially with this free agency thing in the air. I think you'll see a lot more NBA-style moves made in college football, which is forcing coaches to be better on their end in recruiting and developing players, because the retention of college football players on teams has diminished a lot, but hopefully it changes for the better instead of being as lopsided as it's been.
So that part's interesting, because you got to think like how much change college football has absorbed all at once. We have the extra year of COVID eligibility that is still affecting rosters in a way that's going to be – that's the most under-talked about thing in college football is roster management going forward based on the extra COVID year of eligibility. That was well-intentioned, but ultimately I don't think thought out enough to see the kind of ripple effects it was going to have, especially on high school kids. So you've got that. You've got the transfer rule portal. You've got NIL. You've got the immediate eligibility in that transfer portal. And then you have the early signing period that, to what you brought up, Malik, about the coaching changes. That's driven all that, because now if you're going to leave for a job, you got to get there and start going so you can get people signed by this early signing period, so you can take advantage of the portal. And that point about how coaches respond, I did the Duke's Mayo Bowl like we talked about. Background coach in North Carolina was one of the guys we got to talk to before. And I thought his viewpoint on that was really refreshing. Mack Brown's been around college football for so long. He's been a part of the media. And he said, when it comes to the portal, he goes, we want guys that want to be here, but more than anything, we also made promises to these kids that we were going to do what was best for them. And if they no longer think that's here, he goes, we haven't had a kid leave in the portal who we haven't tried to help find where he was going to go next. We check in on these guys after they leave. And that is certainly Mack. I believe it. Like, I genuinely believe. I don't know Mack Brown super well, but I know people who do. And they say he's truly like heart of gold, great guy, one of the real good ones in college football. I also think he understands word of mouth is always going to be the best selling point for you recruiting wise. And if you got guys that leave your program, but leave with a good taste in their mouth and say, hey, it didn't work out for me there, but they still do things the right way over there, that stuff's always going to travel, because the number one recruiting tool is always that current locker room. Now your current locker room is going to span a few more because of the way that talent's going to break out. And so the culture, that word we always use again, is going to be even more important, that you're not just talking about it, but that you're living it as a coach and as a staff every day to show these guys, hey, I'm done. I'm not, done treating you like a human being and talking to you the way I did as a recruit once you get on campus. It's got to demand consistency now.
Lefty Podcast. We are pleased to have Mike Golic Jr. on with us. Don't forget, Follow him at Mike Golic Jr. on Instagram and Twitter. And also don't forget Shanae and Golic Jr. on ESPN Radio on a daily basis. It's a great show. At first, look, I'm going to be honest. When the announcement was made, I was like, man, that's an odd pairing. And then, the more I saw you guys work together, I was like, you know what? I like this. I like this combination.
It was a lot of fun. I will say this just as an update for the new year. Shanae, unfortunately, because of her WNBA schedule, no longer going to be a part of the show here. She's doing a great job on NBA Today for us. New show, her, Malika Andrews, Richard Jefferson, all those guys. She's going to live full-time over there. So now we are actually Canty and Golic Jr. from here on out. Chris Canty, former New York Giants Super Bowl champion, University of Virginia love, proud who. So chopping it up there, but I mean, cannot say enough good things about both of them. Like, Shanae is one of the most uniquely gifted human beings I've ever met. Like, you spend time around her and you very quickly realize, oh yeah, you went number 1 overall for a reason. Like, stuff just like she does something once, and if you give her a little bit of feedback, it's perfect the next time. Like, if she's never done it before, she's going to be an expert real quick, in addition to being like one of the best teammates I've ever been around in the way that she values the group. So her and Chris are both rock stars, man. I'm super fortunate to just get to sit next to them and try and catch some of the shine on all this. It's helped a lot.
Now that's a totally different combination I have to tap into. Because, Chris, look, man, Chris is one of those guys you don't want to see in the hallway. Like, man, he's menacing, man. Chris.
When we were getting ready to start the show up with Chris, they brought him out because he does his leg from New York. I'm in Connecticut, and ESPN's campus here. And they brought us out to do like the promo photo shoot. And it was the first time I had been in the room with Chris in a while. And they like, all right, like get next to each other, like do the tough guy pose. What the? Where did they make you? And I just started thinking about like all the D Lions he was a part of, like him, Marcus Spears, and DeMarcus Ware in the same draft class for the Dallas Cowboys coming out here. Like, not okay. That's one of those things that I realized, like, you know what, like, long NFL career and me probably just weren't destined if they're making things like that you've got to go block. Like, there's that truly built different.
Yeah, truly.
So tune in, Canty and Golic Jr., ESPN Radio. And before we let you go, look, we started off with you talking about arguments in the Notre Dame locker room, and you guys hanging out with Malik and meeting other guys. You guys are truly a brotherhood.
Yeah.
The same arguments follow each era in that Notre Dame locker room. So we have to ask you, we have a tally going, and because you're in a different era than Malik was, but it's the same argument exists.
Same argument.
Who was the best hooper on the Notre Dame football team during your time there?
The best. So you're right about this being one of the premier arguments, because the amount of times it didn't even stop with our team. The amount of times in training camp where I heard our guys saying, because we had plenty of dudes with D1 hoop offers in here, saying if we picked our best starting 5, we could beat the Notre Dame men's basketball team.
Yes, that's the conversation. That's the
100%. If I was going to pick one, I got to probably give it to my, and this is going to be me showing my bias because he was my roommate. I'm the godfather to one of his daughters, but Kyle Rudolph had a bunch of ACC offers coming out of high school.
Really?
Our start. Oh yeah, I think Wake Forest and a couple of others coming out of Cincinnati Elder in high school. He's a 6'6", 6'7" tight end. Those guys always kind of lend well to the basketball court. So I'll give Rudy the nod on that one. He's a pretty versatile guy here, can do a lot, and he's got the longevity on him. So
I can see Kyle Rudolph being a hoop. I can see that. Now, would you like to know who's in the league? We've had 8 guys on so far. Would you like to know who has the most votes?
All right, let me hear this.
Leading with 3 votes so far is Mike McGlinchey.
Yes.
Wow, Glinch.
Yes.
So, see, I never got to see Glinch hoop. So, like, and as you guys know, like, the bookstore basketball tournament's huge. And I don't know how it was after, but, like, our guys could still play in it when I was there. So I got to see a bunch of my teammates hoop in that tournament and stuff. But Glinch came after me. Like, I was there when we were recruiting Mike. And I know he was a, tall, skinny, tight end guy coming out of high school. So that's interesting.
The thing about McGlinch is that he's so technical. And then Notre Dame added a frame to him. So now you got a 6'9" giant tackle. with feet like he had when he was like, what, 225 in high school, maybe, his freshman year.
Wow.
And a great handle. So it was crazy to see. I could definitely see Kyle Rudolph being an all-star, being from Ohio, where basketball is just like we growing on trees out there. But in terms of just all-around dominance, Mike McGlinchey really had the skill for me.
Man, I need to go back and look up at like the Mike McGlinchey high school highlight tape here to see if he's got the basketball mixtape out there.
Yeah, I had to look it up. He had offers from like Boston College, Penn State.
Yeah,
he had D1 offers as well. So yeah, it's crazy.
Man, some people just got everything, man. D1 offers and hoops, going to go on and be a first-round draft pick and all that stuff, man. Like it's thankfully Mike's like one of the best guys on earth, so easy to root for with all that success too.
Absolutely. So yeah, the first tally goes down for Kyle Rudolph. We have to get more people from your squad on, Mike.
Yeah, we gotta get the earlier
Brian Kelly in the 2015 squad, basically. And that's how Mike is building up his lead.
That is true here, because we'll get some other names involved here. Like I'm sure Michael Floyd would like a place at the table on all this one. Pretty good high school hooper. Deion Walker, I think, was a pretty good jump shot coming out of high school here. So we had some dudes that could play.
All right. Well, Mike, thanks for joining the Lucky Lefty podcast. We look forward to having you on down the line. And is there anything you would like to let the people know that you're going to have coming up and what you'll be doing and how they can follow you?
Yeah, like you said, at Mike Golic Jr. on Twitter and Instagram. Depending on when this posts, I'll be a part of ESPN's digital coverage of the College Football Playoff National Championship game in Indianapolis coming up here. So we'll be down there with a whole crew of our digital folks getting ready to do our pregame show that lives on, Twitter, YouTube, all those different spots of our digital branch of coverage. But yeah, like you said, listen, while you're listening to the podcast, Canyon Golic Jr., download, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff.
So based upon what you said, you're not going against Nick Saban Monday night.
Yeah. You know what? I'm still holding out right now, coming off that semifinal game. You have a very banged up Alabama wide receiver group here. John Mechie was already out here. Jamison Williams had the shoulder injury in that game. I'm just saying that Georgia squad looked uniquely motivated. I know it was a styles make fights thing, but I've been leaning Georgia for a little bit now. I'm sure by game time I will think better of myself and my own sanity and not go pick against Papa Saban.
Yeah, I think Stetson Bennett plays much better than he did in the SEC championship game. So it should be a good one. Championship game between Georgia and Alabama on Monday night. Mike Golic Jr., thank you for tapping in with the Lucky Lefty podcast. Man. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll have you back soon.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right. Lucky Lefty Nation, man, we appreciate you guys for giving us that opportunity to tag in with Mike Golic Jr. Big time to have him on the show. Man,
yeah, I don't think I can bet against Saban either, man. I'm feeling the same things. Stetson Bennett definitely can play better, but it's something about in the game. Outside of the game, it's easier to debate it, but in the game, Nick Saban just has that mental hold on some people,
We have a couple more super chats to get to, bro. Man, that's a lot of comments, man. We thank everybody that's tagged in today, that's tapped in with us. Man, thank you. I see LL Nation is getting that wet blanket.
Yeah, we had to get on wet blanket today.
Get at him. Get him. Rob Ian, thank you for the super chat. My dog Malik. Here we go, man. I heard you try to slip in that Ohio talk at the end too.
That's right, my guy. Rob Norwood, best friend growing up, man, a great guy. He loves the Saints. Ian Book, Tony Jones. We blessed him with those two players down there. Hopefully, Ian can turn that thing around, turn into the real Drew Brees.
That's your boy, man. So when we come up for the Ohio State game, I got to get up with Rob.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we just got to get a bus and go down there. Ohio State, Notre Dame fans, do the podcast as we getting down there. It'd be great.
Yeah, I see my boy. We can always depend on Galante. Vito. Let's say Vito DeSarco. Pretty much.
We got security up in the chat, man. Toss the boys out the club.
Block them for what?
We want that.
He's in our territory getting lit up. No need to block him.
That's
At
right.
all. The fact that he's like Fiesta Bowl champs, that means nothing to us. We wouldn't even hang that banner at Notre Dame. We would put that trophy in the boxes. It wouldn't even go in the trophy case. Like, we don't care about Fiesta Bowls. You know what we care about. That's it.
We only hang up banners and championships.
Facts. Let's see. This is funny. This is what he's standing on. This is how you know you're standing on sinking sand and not a solid foundation. Oklahoma State has more national championships than any other school outside of the state of California. And what?
He had to reach down deep in the pro football focus bag.
First of all, that's not true.
That nobody cares about.
First of all, that's not true.
In California.
That's not true. Unless he's including like swimming and other sports or something. And golf. I know they got a real good golf program, but that's about it. Nah. If you're gonna talk something, spit facts. Man.
So many chats today. We appreciate that.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh
garbage isn't going pro. Look, man, the report came from The Athletic, citing the relationship and the wooing of the Raiders. And if Brian Kelly can be wooed by money and Vegas.
Yeah. Hard to say no to that.
Man.
That stadium real nice.
Let's see. Make sure you hit the like button. Everybody subscribe, share, like. Don't forget, tomorrow, very special guest on the show. We're going to have Aaron Kearney, former director of recruiting. He's going to come on and talk about the ins and outs of recruiting, give you a sneak peek.
What in-depth sneak peek of what was going on?
It really won't be a sneak peek.
Oh, yeah, it's the full thing. He probably going to give us all the info.
I know, wait a minute. I know Wet Blanket isn't talking about rings. Oklahoma State hasn't sniffed a ring in football, dude.
He just want attention.
How many players did you have in the first and second round last year? Oh, that's right. That's right. Leave it to the Bears with a terrible GM to draft a left tackle that already has a back injury and draft him in the second round. Only the Bears.
Don't forget about Justin Coleman out of Oklahoma State, the first round corner to the Browns. That the last time I heard about him was when they called his name on draft day.
And when he finally played, he almost got Justin Fields killed against the Green Bay Packers. And was literally on the sideline in tears. And Justin Fields had to tell him, like, dude, be cool. It's okay.
Yeah.
Those are the type of offensive linemen you develop.
Yeah, because he thought he was going back to where, Oklahoma.
Oh, they just got a wrestling championship. Come on, man. No one cares.
No one cares. We don't care.
Dude.
We don't care.
The fact you sit up and talking wrestling is laughable. That's why I wanted to expose you. Because I was seeing your comments all week. So I just knew.
That's all. We just wanted to let you know that we know that y'all not getting it done. Not worth it.
They're going academics in here, dude. Q Gibbs, 97. Dude, Oklahoma State has a 67.1 acceptance rate.
We should make this podcast schooling.
Hey, bro, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys so much, man. Joe Krusich, I apologize if I missed this, had to step away and teach a math lesson. Is there a relationship between Wiggins and Freeman that might bring him to Notre Dame from Alabama? Connections.
They're boys. Yeah, just connections.
They're both on the minority. I think they're both on the board for the minority coaching association by minority coaches in college football. Marcus Freeman was just acknowledged for that on yesterday, and just connections. and people, and wanting to work with people that you have a strong relationship with, and that's pretty much
That's
it.
what it's about. People you can trust.
Other than that, it's just Marcus Freeman not being scared to go to the big man, to go to the grown folks table.
And ask for that big piece of chicken.
Yo, all you can do is ask. And the fact that he's interested, so you mean there's a chance.
That's all we need.
That's all you need.
That's all we're looking for.
Andrew, thank you so much. I don't know what Golic and Malik are on, man. What we're raising is for a refined palate, man.
Yeah, when you're in the early special on the Denny's menu, you know what that is. That's 65 and older.
Oh, man. Our guy, Matt Anderson. Hey, Wet Blanket, ND11. Matter of fact, I'm not about to disrespect Ohio State. I'm not about to say it would be disrespectful for me to use the letter.
We can't even give Oklahoma State the 3 letters.
Yeah, it's really only one. It's only one OSU that we respect. So that's Notre Dame 11, Oklahoma State 0. You would never win a championship.
Never, ever.
Let's see. SM, we appreciate you with these new hires and recruits under Freeman. We are most likely going to be 12-0 or 11-1 redemption for an NY6. Yeah, I think we have a chance to get to an NY6 next year. I don't know about the playoff.
He said 12-0. I'm like, ooh.
It's really only two. It's really only 2 games, bro. Like we go 1-1 with that Clemson Ohio State. If we split those,
it'll be good. But winning 12, I like us against Bama. Like who we already proved we can win if we win Ohio State and Clemson.
Oh man. What? This is funny. Everybody was loving Mike Golic being on the show. We appreciate you all. We told you we're going to bring you great content, great guests each and every day. Let's get it done. Tommy Lawson, send a shout out for Malik.
What's up, baby? Thank y'all for tuning in, man. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe.
My man is here talking about ribs now. Like, we got better ribs than South Bend.
Not better than Frankie's in downtown South Bend. Don't get it twisted.
Oh, man. That's the first spot I'm going.
Frankie's got to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll be
if you drive too fast, you're going to miss it.
I'll be in the Den later this month. And the first spot I'm hitting is Frankie's.
That's right.
Let's get it, bro.
Bert tips with the combo. Let's go.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing. Now, you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you. You don't? No.
What is today's petty historic?
Petticoat Junction.
That's right. Each and every day, petty story, the pettiest people of the day, right here. Yesterday was the end of an era. And I guess I'm putting BlackBerry on the petty train. Because I guess they're bowing out. If you have a BlackBerry, I don't know where you've been the last 10 years. BlackBerry was it, though. A BlackBerry was it. If you had a BlackBerry, you were big.
If you had a BlackBerry, people thought a couple things. Maybe you had a briefcase because you was a straight businessman.
Yeah.
Maybe you was in the know. You had some secret, club you was a part of, because that was just a sophisticated type of phone to have, man. I think that was the first computer that I ever felt like it was a real handheld, man. When they started going to the buttonless phones, I was a little nervous because I was like, what happened with BlackBerry? Not the buttonless.
Man,
so
we
it's
got
petty,
somebody.
man.
Man, I might have to put Greg Lisman on the petty train just for he went at Frankie's. I'll bring it up in a second.
Oh, I seen that. He talking about when they can't see what happens when you get away from the source. It thins out. It's not as good when you got it at the root. You know what I'm saying? When you get the leaves, it don't taste as good as the fruit on the tree.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta go back home where it started, where they still got grease stains from when they opened, and you know, some of the, like I said, you're gonna drive too fast and miss it. So if it's the less aesthetics, the better the food. Just remember that.
So getting back to BlackBerry, end of an era on yesterday. There's no longer support for the operating system for BlackBerry, and it's an end of an era. Man, top notch. And we were talking offline, like the flip. I remember when it went from the brick to the flip. Then I remember when you got the chirp with the Nextel. You know what I mean? Then once the sidekick came out and the two-way hit,
and that thing on the hip, we had that thing on the hip.
Yeah.
And then that's when you had to tap in with that Bluetooth.
Right. And then the BlackBerry hit, and BlackBerry was everything until the iPhone.
The BlackBerry was in the Matrix. That's how tough the BlackBerry was. It even made the Matrix.
So all-time communication, BlackBerry would probably be definitely top 3
on a style point. BlackBerry was it.
I would agree.
See, I even like BlackBerry the fruit better than the apple. You know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute. So if you put a BlackBerry in your smoothie before you put an apple in the smoothie?
100%.
Nah, I gotta rock with the apple with a little bit of peanut butter.
Oh, okay, that's not bad. If I was like, taking snacks to my son in first grade, but if you want something that gets you right, fortified with antioxidants, fighting all them whatever you got going on, get you some BlackBerry,
man. Hey, someone else told me to go to the original Pancake House on the west side of South Bend.
Yeah, you can't go to the one that's close to campus. You gotta go to the one.
Yeah, the one further out. It's not as crowded. And someone else wants to put Bleacher Report on the petty train. We appreciate you, Jock Bofo, the motivational business banker. He said the pettiest story out there is Bleacher Report saying Freeman was a scapegoat hired. Clowns. Yeah. If that indeed is what they said.
See, Bleacher Report, let's make it, keep it 100 ways real on this Lucky Lefty podcast. The Bleacher Report is not news for the people. It's a messaging operator. It's built to just put out negative seeds of dissension out there. It's not really reporting no real news. Because that's an easy article to write because we lost. But I guarantee you, we won that Oklahoma State game. They would have said Oklahoma State had no chance against the great hire of Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame.
Yeah, D Beezy, our girl, get the mixed sauce bread on top. D Beezy's the main reason I'm going to Frankie's. She has been going hard for Frankie's, dude, day one. So I'm definitely D Beezy. I'm down in the Bend the last week of January. So. And everybody,
we might even have to hit a podcast from out of the store,
right?
Inside the restaurant, food review, Frankie's review with the podcast.
They say sauce on the fries. DBZ got another spot. Fire Mexican. Okay, me and DBZ definitely going out for lunch when I get there. I'll be there for a couple of days, man, networking.
That's right.
Definitely got to link up with DBZ, do the Mexican and Frankie's.
Yeah.
Woo! Okay, Michael Park said he likes honey and blueberries in his smoothie, bro.
Hey, it's a real solid combination right there, Mr. Parks.
Now, I'm a granola dude, too. Are you a granola dude?
To the yogurt family,
Huh?
You might as well start talking about yogurt. You get granola with the berries and the...
Yeah. I really don't do the honey, though.
So you gotta do the honey because honey's versatile, man. You can put in a little bit of anything.
Q Kids 97 said brew on Eddie slaps.
See, that was the new Eddie Constructions. Eddie Street always had this place called Yats.
Yes.
Oh, undefeated Creole spot. It was so out of the blue. You know, you Creole in South Bend, you different. So
Right, that's totally different.
it was the one spot I went there twice a week. Every time I would get the chicken Creole thing they had with some bread, talking about some of the best food that you could have with some flavor. You know what I mean? Better than the Chipotle at that time.
Uncle, I don't know what's up with this. Uncle Bob, shout out to you. I see you with the Trayvon Diggs picture. Sorry, but I guess you're trying to say I run Caleb back to Lincoln.
I think you're trying to say Caleb's not that good because he got pulled against Baylor when it was only 10-7.
Lincoln yanked him mid-season, then bounced on him. Lincoln didn't yank him mid-season.
He yanked him again the Baylor game
because he was playing horrible.
It was 10-7.
He was playing horrible, bro. He was trying to get, he was trying to give a spark to his team because they were playing bad. It didn't work, and Caleb went back in there the next game. It's like, dude, come on, man. Caleb was the guy. Everybody knew Caleb was the guy. Oh. Man, he gave a super chat for Yats. Yats is the bomb. And number two, Malik, I see you with the fresh new setup.
Man, it's the original setup. I just had to get my stuff right. But yeah, Yats. People that know Yats really know South Bend, for real.
JJ's, you talk about JJ's too, don't you?
Yeah, but JJ's, we got that little JJ's everywhere in the Midwest.
Oh, now we turned into a full-fledged Andrew Goss says agave and peanut butter sandwiches. If you know, you know.
Hey, if you follow my Facebook page, I repost all my favorite recipes.
Yeah. That's all he does is post food recipes. That's it.
Follow my Facebook page. I got all the best food recipes, everything you want to try in your palate. If you want to update your palate, come to my profile.
Demetrius Rex, reminder, Caleb Williams almost lost to Kansas. And he's still better than any quarterback in our quarterback room. Like, I
don't care about that.
We are really overthinking this, man. We're really overthinking it. At this point, he is better. If he came to campus, he would be the best quarterback on campus. Why? Because Tyler Buckner hasn't shown anything, and we don't blame him for that.
He's definitely got a big nothing burger on the season for being ready. For being ready to play Ohio State.
Also, very important, CJ Williams was asked about his decision coming up on Saturday at the All-American game. It comes down between USC and UCLA. He removed Notre Dame from consideration, which means Notre Dame was still in contact and in consideration. And he said he removed Notre Dame once he found out that Dale Alexander had been fired. And he said he knew that was going to happen once Brian Kelly left, so that's why he decommitted. So
you want to go to a guy that wasn't coaching guys? I ain't worried about
I'm
that.
just telling you what CJ Williams said, man. If you want to throw him on the petty train, you can throw him on the petty train.
Hey, it's just, it just shows he didn't really want to go there.
That's all. I said that from the jump. Just say you don't want to be here.
Because you giving lame excuses.
Now, this is funny. Did you see Buckner's freshman stats compared to Bryce Young's? Bryce Young didn't play, dude. What are you talking about? So now Tyler Buckner is just as good as Bryce Young? You're bugging.
I think we should end it right there, man.
Yeah, that's it. It's been a great show. It's been a great show. And man, that's it.
Go start your day, man. Drink some water.
We love you, LL Nation. We love you. We love you, but we got to end it on that point, man. Y'all going too far. Based upon that, Tyler Buckner is going to be in New York
next year. He already won it.
Based upon that. Come on, man. Mike Golic Jr., we appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Everybody that tuned in today. We'll be back tomorrow. Former Director of Recruiting Aaron Kearney will be on the show. Shout out the Bombays. and South Bend. I guess that's another spot. Buckner is already in New York as we speak. Nah, man. Nah.
Must be visiting cousins.
Nah, dude, has to be. Come on, man. I saw some highlights, and then I saw some lame ducks coming off that arm. I guess they forget about that pick 6 against Virginia Tech.
Look, we're not gonna do that.
When he got extended time, like how Virginia Tech, adjusted, and he started making mistakes. Just throw that game out the window, right?
Yeah, we ain't no.
Throw that game out the window.
We appreciate y'all, man. Like, share, subscribe. We here all day, every day.
Yeah. So, from a guy, the original Lucky Lefty, Malik Zaire. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hit the like button. Hit it. Subscribe, share, like. Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. You should do the same today. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m.